Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from keyboardimprov.com, and welcome to our journey through the real book number 188, which takes us to the great Rodgers and Hart tune, Isn't It Romantic? This is the early 30s, Great Depression era popular songs. And it's really interesting. When I was in high school, this would have been in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, I remember when I took United States history, which if you're living in America, that's what you take. I'm sure if you're somewhere else, you take that history. And we were studying the Great Depression. And as a project, this was before the internet, so if you wanted to look at old newspapers or something, you had to go down to the library, public library. So I went down to the public library and I looked at the front pages of New York Times newspapers from the 1930s. And I found something very interesting, at least the ones that I looked at. It wasn't like the first articles at the top or on the front page were all like the doom and gloom, because there was a lot of that in the Depression. People lost all their money, right? Lots of lines for food, shanty towns, all that stuff, right? I mean, it existed, but it wasn't on the front page of the newspapers, at least the couple that I looked at. Instead, it was kind of diversionary. It was like President says hello to Boy Scouts on the front lawn of the White House. You know, things like that. Things that bring a little smile to your face, you know, in these hard times. So that's what the music does too. This music's incredible. Isn't it romantic? Oh, wow. Yes, it's romantic, you know. Now, here's the thing, you know, if we're studying jazz in today's day and age, pop songs like this are a long ways away, right? We don't always wear our romance on our sleeve. We don't walk down the street saying, hey, isn't it romantic, you know? You're trying to be cool, or you know, or just whatever it is. Pop music is definitely a lot about attitude these days. They're not really wearing their hearts on their sleeves, at least not in the same way. Not in this sort of lighthearted, charming way, usually. Some people do. But anyway, we can really learn a lot about how to play a tune like this. You know, it's fine. If you go, you know, if you open the real book and you want to learn how to play these tunes, and you go to a jam session, it's like, okay, isn't it romantic? 1, 2, a 1, 2. That's fine, right? Medium, sort of bebop, post-bebop thing. And Miles might have played it like that. I don't think he recorded this, but if he did, in the 1950s, he would have played it pretty much just like that probably, right? But at the same time, players like Miles Davis, even though on the surface, it's sort of that medium tempo groove, they had been hearing it for a decade or two. You know, when Miles, by the time he's in his mid-20s, he'd been hearing this tune and tunes like it by Rodgers and Hart and others since he was a little kid, right? On TV, in movies. Well, they didn't have TV when he was a kid probably, but movies, right? Fred Astaire movies, you know? Isn't it romantic? Very charming, you know, tap dancing, ballroom dancing, all this stuff went into how Miles would play it on trumpet while there was a bebop rhythm section behind him. Same thing with Charlie Parker, same thing with all those players. Sonny Rollins. You know, read any interview with Sonny Rollins and he talks about old movies, you know, big influence on those generations of players. And it was because of the romance on the screen and this flirtation between the leads, you know, are we going to get together or are we not? Okay, well, by the end of the movie, yes, they usually get together. But, you know, that's the whole movie. Oh, they sort of hit and miss. I like you, but you don't like me, and then vice versa. Okay, we'll get together. So we can bring a lot of that into these tunes. And part of it is immersing ourselves in maybe some of the old movies, watch some Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers clips, and also in the playing of the time. You know, you listen to an Art Tatum play this kind of stride or Fats Waller, and it has a lot of joy to it. You know, we hear a lot these days about learn your 2-5-1s and practice tunes in all 12 keys and your modes and all that. And yes, it's important. We need to know the vocabulary, but we don't hear much about, hey, play with joy, have fun, don't worry about mistakes. You know, those kind of things are what the older players emphasized as they're learning the technique too. It's not like you have to learn 2-5-1s for 10 years before you can start to play with joy, right? Or a little bit of romance or whatever. The only other thing that I was thinking of that I'd like to leave you with before I play is when you listen to even people like Miles, when he's playing standards from, say, the earlier days with him, so 40s up until definitely 58, like the Musings of Miles, albums like that, Milestones, even after, when he's soloing, particularly in the first chorus of the solo, you can still hear the melody. Coltrane, a lot of those players too. Even if it's sort of in behind it, like if you hum the melody as they're soloing, often they will stop to breathe at the same time that the phrase ended, or the arc of the solo might be similar, or they're going to do their own thing for the first 8 measures, and then the first measure of the bridge, they land on that note of the bridge, and then go on somewhere else. So the melody is ingrained in them so much, they almost can't get away from it, and that's something that we can learn from too. Sort of keep the melody in mind, even as we're soloing at times. So let's see, no intro, I'm just going to start with it. I couldn't help but sort of resist the slowing down near the end, to sort of bring it back to its ballad roots, so to speak. Beautiful, beautiful tune. And you can you can bring whatever you know. If you know stride, if you know some walking tenths, some reharmonization, some whatever you play, you can bring it to a tune like this. But definitely view it from a global perspective, not just in the real book. It's here for us, but at the same time, watch the old movies, listen to old players, listen to Lester Young how to play a melody. You can't go wrong with that. Thanks for joining me with this journey through the real book. One a week for 8 years, I believe, 400 tunes. And next time, nice swinger, Is You Is or Is You Ain't My Baby. I'll see you then.